For Jim Marshall, wrong way runs pale in comparison to his life-threatening endeavors. From a Rocky Mountain snowmobile expedition that left one member of his party dead, to numerous other encounters into the unknown, the life and times of Jim Marshall reads like a Hollywood horror show. Scary and humorous and hard to believe.
And I said, boy, you really f***ed up. You have really f***ed up. You are going to die.
The story's making me sick.
Dude, I didn't get to the good part.
Sure.
They lost me on that one on the operating table, and I remember being up, looking back at myself laying on the table, and I told them everything that they did.
No, they never lost Jim Marshall. Ironically, over the course of 20 years on the playing field, he hardly suffered a scratch. By playing in 282 consecutive games, Marshall established an NFL record of endurance that may never be broken. In Minnesota, Marshall was not merely admired, he was worshipped.
But Jim Marshall was a special kind of person. I always called him Mr. Marshall. And we had a good relationship. He was our captain as long as he was here. He was exactly what a captain should be.
Yes, we do often mistakenly believe that professional athletes are immortal. But the man carrying the football here may well have been the exception. For if ever there was an indestructible football player, he was number 70 for the Minnesota Vikings, a maverick named Jim Marshall.
Somebody big just died. Legendary Vikings defensive end Jim Marshall is dead at 87 years old. And my friend Mike North is here to deliver the eulogy. Mike, how are you, my friend?
Good. I'm trying to get under there. Let's see what I got here. There you go.
There he is.
How you doing, everybody? Yeah, well, there goes my head. Anyway, Joe, can you push that up a little bit? Or is there?
I think it's the camera.
Yeah. Well, hold on. My camera?
Just maybe tilt it up just a smidge.
I'm not messing with it. Forget about it.
There you go.
Well, the hair was looking good tonight.
That
anyway,
works.
let me tell you something. How you doing, everybody? Mike North, Joe Mandel here for this is a special one, Jim Marshall. But before we get to Jim, we're going to talk about Pennyville Station and Cumberland Chapel. Let's go to Cumberland Chapels first. It's, I'm telling you, number one in my heart. As far as what they do for the fine people, how they handle things. They bring you in, they serve the families with dignity and grace. They have different types of packages for you. They walk you through the experience. There's some testimonials there for you. Some people that probably had been there before, seeing somebody else. It's a neighborhood place, but it's bigger than a neighborhood place. It's a Chicagoland. I mean, it is the granddaddy of funeral parlors. I mean, you know, the Ma and Pa places, the two joints you used to have, you know, the two funeral chapels you'd have. You know, forget about that now. I mean, they're big places, and you don't get better than those people there at Cumberland Chapels. Just a wonderful place. So check them out, folks, at 8300, once again, 8300 West Lawrence Avenue, Norwich, Illinois. CumberlandChapels.com. Check everything out that you can. Plan ahead. Plan for 20 years down the line.
That's right.
I told you, we got to get ready for my 100th. You know what I mean? So let's go. All right.
Never too early, Mike. Never too early.
Now, how much is a funeral going to be in 28 years? Forget about it.
Who knows?
Right? Well, you'll still, I mean, 28 years, I'm pushing it. You know, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm happy to be here. Also, happy to go to Pennyville Station. That's right. Pennyville Station, established in 2018. Great menu, great people. Tony Antonacci, Tino Antonacci. I just had my a party for Lifetime Achievement Award from the fine folks at Barrett Media. BB threw it for me. Had all my friends there, had people there, my family. Both sides. There's Jesse. He was there. Jerry Riles, John Suntress. A lot of great people there. George Hoffman. My whole family. My mom. All 95 years of her.
God
Last
bless.
night- Yeah, God bless her. So, great place, and the food was great. They got sliders, they got steak, and they got prime rib.
Don't
They
forget the
got
lobster
mahi.
roll, Mike.
Oh, you love the run. You tell me about it all the time. The lobster roll, it's
That's it.
outstanding. What can I tell you? So check them all out, folks. And you know what? Jim Marshall passed away, and I asked B. I go BB. Jim Marshall died, and she said Jim Marshall, and she didn't know who Jim Marshall was. And then I sat down, and I do this for everybody. For instance, last week Gary Deeb died, but he
Yeah.
didn't make somebody big just died. He made just an honorable mention. Some people don't make either. So now there he is. What a mop. Anyway, Joe, you'd pay top dollar for that mop right now, and you know it. Yeah,
I would.
I would too. Anyway, Jim Marshall. I asked BB about him, and then I'm sitting there. I go, wait a minute. If I'm just because he's not hyped, just because they don't talk about him in the revered tones that they talk about other defensive ends like Deacon Jones or TJ Watt, Richard Dent, it doesn't mean anything. Jim Marshall was as good as anybody.
That's a badass, man.
He was a badass, and he was a Renaissance man. As you saw, he was, doing the snow thing with the dogs and the sledding and the nonsense, and he died on the operating table. And he was a different type of character, but
Like a hang gliding accident. Like, what is this guy? What was this guy doing?
it's almost like he had a death wish. Yet he never got hurt on the football field, because then I said, as a Bear fan, the guy tortured me. Of course he's going to be on somebody big just died. I can't forget this guy. I can't forget the Purple People Eaters. I can't forget him. I can't forget, of course, Gary Larson. I can't forget Carl Eller. And I can't forget Alan Page. The Purple People Eaters. And this guy, he won the NFL championship in 1969. Before they merged into the NFL AFL Super Bowl and became one league. Yeah, as usual, a Bear's running for his life with the white seat. There's Gale.
Mhm.
Yeah, you didn't catch him. Let me just tell Jim Marshall that you didn't catch him. Anyway, they tortured us as Bear fans. And I heard Bill Brown, Dave Osborne, a lot of the Viking players, Chuck Foreman, and from the past, say some wonderful things about him. And the more the day went on, I said, I did the right thing. I did the right thing. The Vikings used to have even better uniforms back then than they do now, folks. They used to actually be purple. They're like a dark purple now, like almost a blue. And that's just the way it is. Tito Reyes, I love you, my friend. How are you, my friend? But they beat the crap out of us. And in fact, Jim Marshall was with the expansion Minnesota Vikings. And the Bears' first game with George Halas as coach, guess what happened, Joe? They lost. They lost the game.
Of course.
And I'm 9 years old, and I remember it to this day. It was their very first game, and we're playing a charter member. They're playing a charter member of the National Football League from 1920. 3-second team All-Pro, 1964, 68, 69, two-time Pro Bowler, 50 greatest Vikings. He was on the Minnesota Vikings 25th anniversary team, the 40th anniversary team, the Ring of Honor, number 70, of course, retired, never to be worn again. Played for the Ohio State national champion 1957 team. So this guy had a great run, but this was the best. NFL records, most consecutive games played with one team, 270. Most consecutive starts by a defensive player, 270. That's like 19 years. That's almost insane. Impossible. That's almost impossible. And Bud Grant, of course, was a great man. Had they won a Super Bowl, which they participated in 4, had they won 1 or 2, he'd be considered one of the top 5 coaches of all time, along with Vince Lombardi, Bill Walsh, Joe Gibbs, guys like that. He had 130 sacks, folks. One safety, which was the wrong way.
The wrong way.
He hits the guy. There it is, right here. You know who that is? Steve Spurrier.
Oh, geez.
Spurrier fumbles the football. Marshall picks it up, runs the wrong way. And if he doesn't throw it in the stands, it's a touchdown, I think, for the other team. But he threw it away. I'm trying to figure out why it wasn't a touchdown for the San Francisco 49ers, because he ran the wrong way. And he got into the end zone. But it was
I think he threw it out of the side of the end zone, so maybe that's why it's a safety.
And then if you watch the rest of the film, the 49er players walk up to him and congratulate him. And as great as Jim Marshall was, if he met somebody every day, they asked him about it.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And I have a clip, Mike, of him talking about the lost Super Bowls. If we want to take
let's see it, JoJo.
About how he hasn't won one.
I've never gotten over it. None of them. Those were 4 opportunities that we had to prove that we were the best in the world, and we didn't do it. We got beat, and each one of the Super Bowls, we got beat soundly. And you never get over things like that.
Never got over it.
I never got over it either. I wanted him to win one, and I understand. We have a cut of Fran Tarkenton before we go to it. I saw it on Twitter. And I always considered Fran Tarkenton the leader of the Minnesota Vikings, but I was wrong. The captain of the team was Jim Marshall. And it's very unusual for a quarterback on the offensive side of the ball to really revere and to say something nice and beautiful about a teammate on the other side of the ball, because I'm a Bear fan. They could care less about each other, the offensive defense.
They hate each other sometimes.
They could care less. That's the way it was, and that's the way. But listen to Fran Tarkenton here, folks.
My great friend and teammate, Jim Marshall, died yesterday. 1961 was the first year of the Minnesota Vikings, a long time ago. And on that team was Jim Marshall and Fran Tarkenton. He was the greatest leader in football that I've ever played with. In all the years of the Vikings from 1961 to now, there's never been a player leader like Jim Marshall. He's the face of the Vikings. He's the soul of the Vikings. He played in Minnesota 18, 19 years. He never missed a practice. He never missed a game. He was the ultimate defensive end. He played with strength and smarts. He and I would play card games at night at training camp. And I never beat him in any card game that we played. He was such a bright guy. He never had a bad day. I never saw him angry. He just made his teammates better. You talking about a role model? God, he is the ultimate role model. I didn't think that he would ever die. I guess I was wrong. But he will be alive in the heart and soul of everybody who's come by him. Rest in peace, my friend. You set the standard. The Vikings would never be anything like they are without you back in 1961, putting on that purple jersey. Rest in peace, my friend.
What a beautiful thing.
Beautiful statement, man.
And Fran Tarkenton is a motivational speaker. He's he's a good speaker. A terrific guy. I noticed he went to Georgia. He has the Georgia Bulldog
he does.
Thing on his desk. I admire Fran Tarkenton so much. He tortured me as a Bear fan every year. I'm not kidding you. And Jim Marshall and all those guys. I mean, there he is. I mean, he was married twice. Let's get to the particulars of our buddy Jim Marshall. Okay. Jim was born December 30th, 1937 in Wilsonville, Kentucky. And he died June 3rd at 87. He had a good run. 6'4", 248 pounds, which was big back then. High school, East Columbus, in where Ohio State is. Played for Ohio State. Had to be terrific to play at home for Ohio State Buckeyes. Won a national championship. Played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Canada in 1959.
What a mustache, by the way.
I love it. Cleveland Browns 1960. Could have been in the Western. Minnesota Vikings from 61 to 79. So he cut his teeth in the Canadian Football League. And he played when you can maul people. There's the guy. There's his buddy going, why did you run in the end zone?
Yeah, right.
Why did you go that way? Why? He received a letter from Roy Regals, infamous for a wrong way run in the 1929 Rose Bowl, stating, welcome to the club. I'm sure that made him feel good. His miscue was ranked number 54 among the NFL 100 top plays. I think it's got to be higher than 54.
It's got to be in the top 10.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's happened once in the NFL.
I can't believe it happened. Like watching the video, like he just must have been discombobulated or something.
I remember. That's what I remember. What had happened. Most seasons by a defensive player, 20. Most complete seasons played by a defensive player, 20. Most consecutive games started, including playoffs, 289.
Dude is true Iron Man. He really is.
Yeah. Most consecutive. I mean, they talk about Brett Favre as a quarterback, which is unbelievable with his record of getting hit. But
I mean, then you have it looks like he had 30 fumble recoveries too. I mean, that's a lot back then.
Yeah. Most consecutive regular season games played by a defensive player, 282. And that list goes, most fumble recoveries, like you said, 30. Most yardage loss on the fumble recovery, 66. That would be running the wrong way. My God. He resided in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. He was married twice, first to Anita, with whom he had 2 daughters, and then a second time to Susan. When quarterback Brett Favre was set to surpass Marshall's record of consecutive games started, he could not attend the game as it coincided with his wedding anniversary. A few days later, Marshall visited the Vikings practice facilities to congratulate Favre in person, which was nice. He was involved in real estate, insurance, foundations, serving the needy, taking care of people. What can I tell you about Jim Marshall, huh? He's got records. Defensive records are going to last. Nobody's going to play 19 years without missing a game.
How is this guy not in the Hall of Fame, Mike? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's something that I'm glad you touched on, Joe, because I was unaware that he wasn't. Okay, sometimes you just take it for granted.
Yeah.
I think what they got to start doing in the NFL is putting units in, like the Purple People Eaters.
As a whole,
I'm telling everybody right now, I saw 2 of the greatest defensive lines, or really 3. The Bears would be 3rd. Hampton, Dent, Fridge, McMichael, Hartenstein at the beginning. The first ones, were the Rams, Deacon Jones, Lamar Lundy, Roger Brown, Merlin Olsen. Then you had Rosie Greer and the same group. Rosie Greer was first, and then Roger Brown came after. They were first in my eyes. Deacon Jones was a savage. And what scared me is he called Buckus a savage. And Deacon Jones was an absolute savage. And then the second one were the Purple People Eaters. Eller, Gary Larson. Nobody could run through Gary Larson and Page. Alan Page was a defensive MVP. And you had Eller and Marshall. They should put those units in as one unit. They should, because they helped each other. They helped each other perform. There they are. All 4 of them. That I think if the National Football League wants to do something right, then you You put certain, they're going to start recognizing an offensive lineman a year, but they should have offensive lines. For instance, how about linebacker duels? How about Marshall, Singletary, and Otis Wilson? How about Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, and Andy Russell from the Steelers?
Sure.
How about Willie Lanier, Bobby Bell? And Jim Lynch from the Chiefs. Put the units in, because one guy didn't play linebacker. He couldn't have done it. They would have killed him.
No, it's a team.
It's a team. So that's what I'd like to see happen. And that is a unit I'd put ahead of the Bear unit. The Bears were made. These guys put a rush on by only rushing 4 guys. The Bears would, Buddy Ryan would throw 7, 8 guys at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. That's the only difference. I'm not taking anything away from our guys from 85, but I put them third. And that's high praise, because I've seen them all.
Sure.
I've seen them all. But I want to wish, and we've been visiting a lot lately. Cumberland Chapels, we thank them very much. This show won't be here. I was surprised. I told Joe we do a lot of shows lately that people aren't covered well. I thought Jim Marshall was covered by the media pretty well.
Even the Vikings put out a nice statement, Mike.
Let's see that statement, Joe. I like that.
The Vikings family mourns the loss of legend Jim Marshall. Marshall set the standard for what it meant to be a Minnesota Viking, starting 270 consecutive games, appearing in 4 Super Bowls, and serving as team captain for 14 consecutive seasons.
It's unbelievable. And then his own coach called him Mr. Marshall.
Yeah.
How
wild is that?
Marshall. And you'd say he was the captain as long as he was there. And he spanned with Joe Cap and Bill Brown. And they had great Jeff Seaman, the great players, Chuck Foreman, just Minnesota. I feared them back in the 70s and 80s more than the Packers, folks. I feared the Packers in the 60s, but the Bears just couldn't beat them in the 70s. They really couldn't. So Jim Marshall, man, may you rest in peace. And you Minnesota fans, I don't know how many Minnesota people we're going to feature, because Prince was already gone. Bob Dylan, probably. Kevin McHale down the line. Maybe 30 years. I don't think, I got news for you. Joe's kid may be hosting with them. I don't know.
That's right.
We'll see what happens. On behalf of everybody, remember, death's inevitable. Sometimes you got to treat it lightly. You got to honor the people that died. May they rest in peace. Jim Marshall, you were all good. On behalf of Joe Mandela and yours truly, Mike North, and Cumberland Chapels and Pennyville Station, thanks everybody for watching. Good night.